Beggar calls Millionaire and says his son is sick, but when he answers, his hand was shaking so much he almost dropped the phone. The man was breathing heavily as he looked at the young man lying motionless beside him, his face pale and lips colorless. He needed to act fast, but fear gripped every muscle in his body. With fingers dirty from the earth, he dialed the number he found in the young man's wallet. Each ring of the phone felt like an eternity. Finally, a deep, irritated voice answered on the other end. "Hello? Who is this?" "Your son. Your son is very sick. You need to come now." The silence that followed lasted just a second before the explosion. "Who the hell are you? How did you get this number?" "Sir, please listen to me. I found your son passed out on the road. He needs urgent help." "Oh, I get it. Another scammer trying to get money. Go find another sucker to fall for that." "No, wait. He's right here beside me, unconscious, I swear." The call dropped. The man looked at the device in his hand in despair. The young man still hadn't moved, only breathing irregularly. He thought about calling an ambulance, but he knew it would take too long to get to that abandoned stretch of highway. His worn-out clothes were covered in dust. His unkempt beard hid a face marked by difficult years. His eyes, however, still held that spark of someone who hadn't completely given up on life, even after everything. He observed the young man more closely. He must have been about 15, maybe 16. He wore expensive clothes, brand-name sneakers that cost more than he could save in months. An expensive backpack was tossed aside, half open, revealing a tablet and headphones. He looked back at the phone. He needed to make that man believe him. With trembling fingers, he opened the phone's camera and took a picture of the young man's face. Then, he found the messaging app and sent the image to the last contact named Dad. The reply came almost instantly. "Where are you? What did you do to my son?" His fingers moved quickly across the screen. "I didn't do anything. I found him like this. Old road that connects to the county, mile 29. I'm on my way. If anything happens to him, you'll regret it." The man put the phone away and looked around. The deserted road stretched in both directions, surrounded only by dry brush and a few sparse trees. The sun was beginning to set on the horizon, tinting the sky orange. He felt the evening chill arriving. Without a second thought, he took off the worn-out jacket he was wearing and placed it over the young man's body. The shirt he wore underneath had a few holes and was faded with time, but it was all he had. As he did this, he noticed his hands were shakier than usual. It wasn't just the nervousness of the situation. It was something else, a memory that insisted on returning. He looked at his own arms and saw the old scars, marks from a past he tried to forget every day. The young man let out a soft moan. It was the first sign of life since he found him. He knelt beside him again. "Hey, kid. Can you hear me? Your father is coming. Hang in there." But there was no answer, only that weak moan, as if the young man were trapped somewhere between consciousness and unconsciousness. The minutes felt like hours. He stayed there, crouched beside the young man, watching every breath, every small movement. The cold evening breeze began to blow stronger, kicking up dust from the road. That's when he heard the sound of a powerful engine in the distance. Soon after, he saw the car appear around the bend in the road. It was a luxurious vehicle, black and shiny, completely out of place in that arid landscape. The car stopped abruptly a few meters away. The door swung open forcefully, and a man in a suit stepped out hurriedly. He looked to be about 50, with well-groomed grey hair, his face red with anger and worry. "Jason?" the man shouted, running towards the young man. "Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It's a great help for us who are just starting out. Now, continuing." The man from the street instinctively stepped back, giving them space. The businessman knelt beside his son, touching his face, checking for vital signs. "What did you do to him?" He turned aggressively toward the man. "Nothing, sir. I just—" "Shut up!" The businessman interrupted him. "You'll pay dearly if anything happens to my son." At that moment, another man got out of the car. He was older, probably around 65, wearing a driver's uniform. When he saw the homeless man, his eyes widened slightly, as if he recognized something familiar in that face. "Dr. Richard, "I think it's best to take young Jason to the hospital immediately," said the driver, without taking his eyes off the homeless man. "That's what we're going to do, Mr. George, help me get him into the car." The two men carefully lifted the young man. It was then that the young man slowly opened his eyes, still confused. "Dad?" he murmured weakly. "I'm here, son. I'm here." The businessman's voice was choked up. I ran away. I ran after the fight. I wanted—" "Don't speak now. We're taking you to the hospital." The homeless man watched everything from a distance, relieved to see the young man conscious. He began to discreetly walk away, thinking his part there was done. "Wait," the driver's voice made him stop. "Dr. Richard, this man, I know him." The businessman looked at the driver with impatience. "What do you mean you know him?" "From many years ago, sir. When you lived in the old house on Magnolia Drive, he worked there." The homeless man felt his heart race. That face— yes, he recognized it now too. Mr. George, the driver who always treated everyone with respect, unlike the employers. Richard looked at the homeless man more carefully, as if trying to find something familiar in those features, marked by time and suffering. "I don't remember you," he said coldly. "George, put Jason in the car. Let's go." "But sir, he helped the young man." "It doesn't matter. He probably just wants a reward." The businessman took his wallet from his pocket and threw some bills on the ground, in front of the homeless man. "Take it and get out of here, and forget everything you saw today." The man looked at the money on the ground but didn't move to pick it up. There was something about that scene that affected him deeply. Seeing that young man, so young, so much like— The car sped off, raising dust. He stood there watching the vehicle disappear down the road. Only then did he bend down and pick up the money, not out of greed, but because he knew he would need to eat in the coming days. But something bothered him. That young man, Jason. Something about him seemed too familiar, and the way he reacted upon seeing his father, that sadness in his eyes even amidst the confusion, he knew that feeling well. He started walking back to the place he had called home for the past few months, an overpass a few miles away. With every step, the memories came back stronger. Magnolia Drive. That big house. He did work there, yes. But it wasn't just that. There was something more, something he had buried deep in his memory in order to survive. Night was falling quickly. When he reached the overpass, other homeless people were already settling down to sleep. He recognized some faces. Mrs. Dorothy, a woman of nearly 70 who lost everything after her husband passed away. Jimmy, a young man who fell into drugs and never managed to get out. Mark, a former laborer who had an accident and was left unable to work. "Hey, Robert, get anything today?" asked Mrs. Dorothy. "A few bucks," he replied, showing the bills. "You look worried. Did something happen?" Robert sat down in his corner using cardboard as a mattress. "I found a young man passed out on the road. I helped him." "And the boy's father gave you this?" Mrs. Dorothy pointed to the money. "He did. But that's not what's bothering me." "What is it then?" Robert was silent for a moment, looking at his own hands. Hands that were once clean, cared for, hands that worked with soil, planted flowers, tended gardens. "I think I knew that boy before, or someone who looked a lot like him." Mrs. Dorothy came closer, sitting down beside him. She was a wise woman who always knew how to listen. "Is there something in your past you haven't told me, right, Robert?" "There's a lot I don't tell anyone, Mrs. Dorothy, things that hurt too much to remember. Sometimes we need to face that pain to truly move forward." Robert shook his head. "I don't know if I'm ready for that." The night passed slowly. Robert barely slept, tossing and turning on the cardboard. Memories came in flashes. The house on Magnolia Drive, the gardens he tended with such care, and her. The woman who made his heart beat in a way it never did again. Jennifer. The name hurt just to think about. How long had it been? 20 years? 21? It felt like a whole lifetime. She worked in the same house, in the kitchen. She was young, must have been about 22 back then. He was 25. They fell in love almost instantly. He remembered her smile, the way she tied up her hair when she was cooking, the afternoons they talked secretly in the garden when the employers weren't looking. But he also remembered the day everything fell apart. The accusation, the theft he didn't commit, the way he was thrown out of the house without even being able to explain himself. And Jennifer, she was sick that day, didn't go to work. He never managed to speak to her after that. He tried to find her. He went back to the house many times, but they said she didn't work there anymore. No one knew where she had gone, or they didn't want to say. The next day, he woke up with the sunlight hitting his face. Mrs. Dorothy was already awake, organizing her few things. "Going downtown to ask for some change?" she asked. "I am, but I want to stop somewhere first." "Where?" "At the hospital. I want to know if the young man is okay." Mrs. Dorothy smiled. "You have too good a heart, Robert. That's why you suffer so much." He walked to the county hospital. It was far. It took almost 2 hours walking. When he arrived, the receptionist looked at him with suspicion. "Can I help you?" "I wanted to know about a young man who was admitted yesterday. Name is Jason." "Are you family?" "No, I helped him on the road. I just wanted to know if he's okay." The woman looked at her computer screen. "I can't give information to non-family members." Robert was about to insist when he heard a familiar voice behind him. "Robert, is that really you?" He turned and saw Mr. George, the driver, coming towards him. "Mr. George, what a surprise to see you here. Came to check on the boy." "I did. Is he okay?" The driver looked around before answering. "Let's talk outside. There are some things you need to know." The two left the hospital. Mr. George led him to a bench in the square across the street. "The boy is okay. It was an anxiety attack, the doctors said. A lot of stress." "Thank goodness, I was worried. But there's more, Robert. I overheard the conversation between him and his father. The boy ran away from home." "Ran away? Why?" Mr. George sighed deeply. "He found out he was adopted, found some hidden papers in his father's office, and he's looking for his birth mother." Robert felt a tightness in his chest. "Adopted?" "Yes. And you know the worst part? I remember the time of the adoption. It was about 15, 16 years ago. The birth mother was a maid who worked at the house. The world seemed to spin around, Robert." "Which house?" "The one on Magnolia Drive, the same one where you worked." The pieces began to fit together in Robert's mind in a painful way. Jennifer worked there. She disappeared right after he was thrown out. And now a 15-year-old boy, adopted by the employer. "Mr. George, do you know the name of the biological mother?" The driver looked at him with pity in his eyes. "Jennifer. Her name was Jennifer Reed." Robert felt his legs go weak. He held onto the seat so he wouldn't fall. "It can't be—" "You knew her, didn't you? I always suspected you two had something. We were dating. In secret because we couldn't be open about it. But when I was kicked out of the house, I never got to speak to her again." Mr. George put his hand on Robert's shoulder. "There's one more thing you need to know. She was pregnant when you left, but she didn't tell anyone at first." "Pregnant?" Robert's voice came out in a whisper. "The baby? Was it mine?" "I don't know for sure, Robert, but by the count of the months it could have been." Robert brought his hands to his face. Everything made sense now. The resemblance he saw in the young man, that feeling of familiarity. Jason could be his son. "Where is she? Jennifer? Is she alive?" "I don't know. After she gave the baby to Dr. Richard, she disappeared. No one ever heard from her again." "Why did he take the baby?" Mr. George lowered his voice. "His wife couldn't have children. When he found out Jennifer was pregnant and couldn't raise the child, he offered her money. A lot of money. They say she accepted because she had no choice." "She would never have done that if she knew I wanted the baby," Robert murmured. "She didn't know where I was." "No one did, Robert. You vanished. Because I was accused of theft. I was run out of town, threatened. I had no choice." The two fell silent for a moment. People passed by the square, living their normal lives, with no idea of the drama unfolding on that bench. "What are you going to do now?" asked Mr. George. "I don't know. How am I going to approach the boy and say I might be his father? He won't believe me, and Dr. Richard will throw me out on the street again." "The boy is suffering, Robert. He wants answers. He wants to know the truth about his mother. But I don't know where she is. Someone must know. She can't have vanished completely." Robert thought for a moment. There was a nurse who worked at the health clinic near the house. She was friends with Jennifer. Maybe she knows something. Then go find her, but be careful. Dr. Richard won't like this one bit. Robert stood up from the bench. His legs were still shaking, but there was a new determination in his chest. For years he had lived without purpose, just surviving. Now he had something to fight for. He had a son. He spent the rest of the day looking for the old health clinic. When he finally found it, he asked about the nurse he remembered. They told him she had retired but still lived nearby. With the address in hand, he went to her house. It was a simple house, painted a faded blue, with a small garden in front. He knocked on the door carefully. A lady with white hair opened the door. She must have been about 65. She looked at Robert with curiosity. "Can I help you?" Mrs. Catherine." The woman's eyes widened. "My God! Robert, is that you?" "Yes, it's me." Come in, come in. My, how many years?" The inside of the house was cozy, full of family photos on the walls. Mrs. Catherine led him to the living room and offered him coffee. Robert accepted, feeling the warmth of the drink heat his body. "What brings you here after all this time?" she asked, sitting in the armchair across from him. "Jennifer, I need to know about her." Mrs. Catherine's face closed up a little. "Why do you want to know about her now?" "Because I found out something about her son." "You know about the baby?" "I know now. And I think the baby was mine too." Mrs. Catherine let out a deep sigh. "I always suspected. Jennifer never told me who the father was, but I saw how she looked at you when you worked together at that house. Where is she, Mrs. Catherine? I need to find her." The nurse got up and went to an old dresser. She opened a drawer and took out an old shoebox. He returned and handed it to Robert. "She left this with me before she left. She said that if you ever showed up, I should give it to you." With trembling hands, Robert opened the box. Inside were letters, several letters addressed to him, but that had never been sent. He picked up the first one and began to read. It was Mariana's delicate handwriting. "Robert, my love, I don't know where you are. I don't know if you will ever read this. But I need to write. I need to get out everything that is hurting in my chest. You disappeared. From one day to the next, you were no longer here. They said terrible things about you, but I don't believe them. I know who you really are. I'm scared. I found out I'm expecting a baby. Our baby. And you're not here to share this with me. I don't know what to do. I have no money, I have no family. My boss found out and said she would help me, but I'm afraid of what that means. Robert, if you are reading this one day, know that I loved you. I still love you. And wherever our son is, he has your blood running through his veins." Tears streamed down Robert's face as he read. He picked up another letter, and another. There were dozens, written over months. "She wrote to me, even without knowing if I would read them. She loved you very much, Robert, but when you disappeared, she was lost." "What happened after she gave up the baby?" Mrs. Catherine picked up one of the last letters. "Read this one. It was the last one she wrote." Robert opened it carefully. "Robert, if you ever read all these letters, you will know everything I went through. You will know about our son, about the pain of having to give him up for other people to raise. I couldn't stay in this town. Everything here reminds me of you. Reminds me of the baby I held only once before I gave him away. I'm leaving. I don't know where yet, but I need to start over. I need to learn to live with this pain. If our son ever looks for me, I will be waiting. And if you look for me, I will also be waiting. Always yours, Jennifer." "Where did she go?" asked Robert, his voice choked. "To Santa Monica. She got a job at a bed and breakfast on the beach. It was 15 years ago. I don't know if she's still there." "Santa Monica," Robert murmured. "Is there a way to get the address? I can try. She sent me a letter about 5 years ago. I must still have it saved." Mrs. Catherine went to the room and came back with an envelope yellowed with time. On the back was an address. Here. But I don't know if she still lives there. Robert took the paper as if it were the most precious thing in the world. I need to go there. I need to find her. And I need to tell the boy the truth. Are you going to the hospital to talk to Jason? I am, but I'm scared. What if he doesn't want to know me? What if he hates me for disappearing? Mrs. Catherine held Robert's hands. He needs to know the truth, Robert, about his mother, about you. That boy is suffering because he doesn't know where he came from. You can give him those answers. But Dr. Richard will have to accept it. The truth always comes out, sooner or later. Robert put the address in his pocket, along with the letters. He thanked Mrs. Catherine and left the house with a new weight on his shoulders. It wasn't just the weight of responsibility, it was also the weight of hope. He returned to the overpass as night was falling. Mrs. Dorothy was there, preparing a thin soup in an old can over an improvised fire. So, did you find out what you wanted to know? Robert sat down beside her and told her everything. About Jennifer, about the baby, about the letters. Mrs. Dorothy listened in silence, shaking her head now and then. My God, Robert, what a story. I don't know what to do now. Yes, you do. You need to go to that boy and tell him the truth. But look at me. I'm a beggar. How is he going to believe I'm his father? The truth has a way of showing itself, Robert. And you're not just a beggar. You are a man who has suffered, who lost everything, but who never lost his humanity. Was it you who saved that boy yesterday? It was just luck that I happened to be passing by. There's no such thing as luck in these matters. There's destiny. You were there because you were meant to be, and now you need to finish what you started. Robert spent the night awake, thinking about how to approach Jason. He couldn't just show up and say, I'm your father. He needed a way to prove it, to make the boy understand. The next day he went back to the hospital. This time he went straight to the reception desk. I need to speak with the patient, Jason Thompson. Are you family? Asked the receptionist, the same one from the day before. I'm someone important to him, even if he doesn't know it yet. The young woman was about to refuse when a voice behind her spoke. Let him in. Robert looked and saw an older nurse, about 60 years old, with kind eyes. Room 5807, she said. But his father is there. I know. It's with both of them that I need to speak. The nurse nodded and signaled for him to follow. As he walked through the hospital corridors, his heart beat faster and faster. He was about to change everything. He stopped in front of the door to room 507. He took a deep breath and knocked lightly. Come in, came Richard's voice from inside. He opened the door and entered. Jason was lying in the bed, looking better than the day before. Richard was sitting in a chair beside him, and his face completely changed when he saw who it was. You? What are you doing here? I need to talk to you about something important. I have nothing to say to you. Get out of here before I call security. But it was Jason who spoke next. Wait, Dad. You're the man who helped me yesterday, right? Robert looked at the young man. It was striking how much he looked like Jennifer. The same dark eyes, the same face shape. I am. I want to hear what he has to say, said Jason. Jason, this man is... Let him speak, Dad. Please. Richard clenched his fists, but stayed quiet. Robert approached the bed. My name is Robert Wilson, and I knew your mother, your birth mother. The silence that followed was deafening. Jason sat up in bed, his eyes wide. You knew my mother? I did. We were in love. Richard stood up abruptly. That's enough. I won't let you fill my son's head with lies. They're not lies. Robert's voice came out firm, firmer than it had been in years. I worked at your house 20 years ago. I was the gardener, and I fell in love with the cook, Jennifer. Jason looked at his father. Is it true? Did he work at our house? Richard didn't answer, which was answer enough. Jennifer and I dated in secret, Robert continued, until the day I was accused of stealing. They ran me out of town. I never got to speak to her again. And why are you telling me this now? Robert took the letters from his pocket. Because I found out yesterday that when I left, she was pregnant, and that baby was you. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to leave a like and especially to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Jason took the letters with trembling hands. He started to read, and with each line tears began to fall. Lies, shouted Richard. It's all lies. He wants money. I don't want money, Robert said calmly. I want my son to know the truth. Your son? Richard laughed humorlessly. You have no proof of that. Jason looked up from the letters. These letters. My mother wrote these. I recognize the handwriting. I've seen old photos where she's writing. It's the same handwriting. Jason, this man could have gotten these letters any which way. No, Dad. Look at the date. Look at what she writes. She talks about me, about the baby that was me. The door to the room opened, and the nurse who had let Robert in appeared. Excuse me, but I thought you all should see this. She entered carrying an old folder. I'm Lucy. I've worked here for 30 years. But before that, I worked at the county maternity hospital, and I remember very well the day that boy was born. Richard turned pale. What do you mean? I mean, I was there when Jennifer gave birth, and I remember her crying, saying the baby's father wasn't there because he had been unfairly kicked out. Lucy opened the folder and took out an old document. I kept a copy of the original birth certificate, before it was changed. Here it says the father is unknown, but Jennifer told me who it was. She made me promise that if he ever showed up one day, I would tell the truth. And who did she say it was? Asked Jason, his voice coming out in a whisper. Robert Wilson, the gardener who worked at the Thompson house. Richard staggered and sat down in the chair again. All the arrogance had vanished from his face. This changes nothing. I raised that boy. I am his father. Nobody's saying you're not, said Robert. You took care of him, gave him everything, and I'm grateful for that. But he deserves to know the truth. Jason looked at the two men, the one who raised him and the one who fathered him. Tears kept falling. Why did you never tell me, Dad? Why did you hide this from me? Because I was afraid of losing you. Richard's voice came out broken. Your mother, my wife, couldn't have children. When we found out about Jennifer, I saw an opportunity. I offered money. She accepted because she was desperate. You bought my son, said Robert, the pain evident in his voice. No, I gave him a better life. Education, comfort, everything she couldn't give. But you took away his right to know his own history. Jason wiped away his tears. I want to meet my mother. I want to talk to her. I know where she is, said Robert. I have the address. Richard stood up again. I won't allow this. She gave him up. She has no right anymore. She didn't give him up. Robert's voice came out loud for the first time. She was forced. She had no money, no family, and the man she loved had disappeared. What did you expect her to do? I gave him everything. Except the truth. The two men stared at each other, decades of history between them, even though they had never really known each other. Jason broke the silence. I want to meet her, and I want both of you to come with me. You, he pointed at Richard, are my father who raised me. And you, he looked at Robert, may be my biological father. But she is my mother, and I need to see her. Lucy put her hand on the boy's shoulder. That's very brave, Jason. But you need to be prepared. 20 years is a long time. People change. I know, but I need to try. Richard sank into the chair. He seemed to have aged 10 years in a few minutes. All right, we'll go find her. But afterwards, you come back home with me. You're still my son, no matter what we find out. I know, Dad. And I always will be. Robert felt a tightness in his chest. It wasn't jealousy. It was gratitude. Gratitude because, despite everything, Richard truly loved Jason. When can we go? Asked Jason. You need to be medically discharged first, said Lucy. But the doctors said you can leave tomorrow. Then tomorrow we go. Richard looked at Robert. You're coming with us. After all, if you really are the biological father, you have a right to be there. It wasn't a request, it was a concession, but Robert accepted. Yes, I will, and thank you very much. He left the hospital with a divided heart. Happy that Jason wanted to know the truth, but afraid of what they would find in Santa Monica. Would Jennifer still be there? And if she was, how would she react to seeing him after so long? He went back to the overpass. Mrs. Dorothy noticed something different about him. What happened? I'm going to meet her tomorrow, Jennifer. My God, and how are you feeling? Scared. Very scared. That's normal. But you must be happy too, right? I am. I'm happy and terrified at the same time. Mrs. Dorothy smiled. That's love, Robert. Even after 20 years, it's still love. That night, Robert couldn't sleep a wink. He lay there looking at the stars through the opening of the overpass, thinking about everything he had lost and everything he might find again. When the sun rose, he got up and made himself as presentable as he could. He washed his face at a public faucet, combed his beard with his fingers, and brushed the dust off his clothes. He knew he wouldn't look respectable, but he wanted to be as dignified as possible. By 9 in the morning, he was at the hospital door. Richard arrived shortly after in a car different from the day before, less flashy, more discreet. Jason has already been discharged, he said. We'll pick him up and go straight to Santa Monica. Can I go like this? Richard looked at Robert's worn-out clothes. I'll stop at a store. You need clean clothes. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do. Not for you, for Jennifer. She deserves to see the man she loved, not what life has done to him. Inside the car, Jason was quiet, looking out the window. When he saw Robert, he gave a small smile. Hi. Hi, Jason. I'm nervous. Me too. They stopped at a clothing store downtown. Richard chose simple but decent pants, a shirt, and shoes for Robert. He also paid for him to use the store's bathroom to take a shower and get ready. When Robert came out transformed, Jason's eyes widened. Wow, you look like a different person. It's still me, just a little cleaner. They continued their trip to Santa Monica. It was almost a 3-hour drive. Along the way, Jason asked many questions. What was my mother like? Robert smiled at the memory. She was beautiful, but it wasn't just that. She was cheerful, even though she worked so hard. She always had a kind word for everyone, and she was a great cook. And did you really love each other? We did. We planned to run away together, you know. I was going to save up money and we'd go far away, start a new life. What happened? Robert turned serious. I was accused of stealing a piece of jewelry from your grandmother. It wasn't true, but no one believed me. I was thrown out, threatened. Richard, who was driving, spoke for the first time. It was my mother who accused you. It was. She never liked the help. She thought they were all thieves. Did they ever find the jewelry? They did. It was in the wrong place. My mother had forgotten where she put it, but you were already gone. The silence that followed was heavy. Richard continued. She never admitted she was wrong. She died without admitting it. And I was too young to stand up to her. Did you know the accusation was false? I did, but I was a coward. I didn't defend you. Robert looked out the window. So many years of suffering because of a lie. So many lives destroyed. And why did you take Jennifer's baby? He asked, turning to Richard. Because my wife really wanted to be a mother. And when Jennifer showed up pregnant, I saw a solution. I offered her money, a lot of money, enough for her to start a new life. But that wasn't what she wanted. No, she cried. She begged to keep the baby. But I told her it was the only way she could give the child a good life. Jason listened to everything in silence, taking in every word. They arrived in Santa Monica in the early afternoon. The coastal town was sunny, with a salty breeze coming in through the car windows. They went to the address Mrs. Catherine had given them. It was a small bed and breakfast facing the sea, painted white and blue with flowers in the windows. A simple but welcoming place. This is it, said Robert, his heart racing. The three got out of the car. They stood in front of the bed and breakfast for a moment, no one wanting to take the first step. It was Jason who moved first. "Let's go. I came all this way. I'm not giving up now." They entered the reception. A young woman was behind the counter. "Good afternoon. Do you need a room?" "No," said Jason. "We're looking for someone. Jennifer Reed. Does she work here?" The woman smiled. "Yes, she does. She's actually the owner, but she went out to run some errands. She should be back soon. Would you like to wait?" "Yes, we would." They sat in the reception chairs. Every minute felt like an hour. Robert stared intently at the door, hoping to see her walk in. How would she be? Would she have changed much? Would she still remember him? Jason fidgeted nervously with his hands. Richard was pale, sweating cold sweat. And then the door opened. A woman entered, carrying shopping bags. She must have been about 42. Black hair with a few white strands tied up in a bun. Her face was the same as 20 years ago, just a little more mature. The same dark eyes, the same smile, which vanished as soon as she saw who was in the reception area. The bags fell to the floor. "Robert?" Her voice came out in a whisper. "Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out, now continuing." He stood up, his legs barely supporting him. "Jennifer." She looked at Richard, recognizing him immediately, and then her eyes landed on Jason. Her legs weakened and she leaned against the wall. "No. It can't be." Jason approached slowly. "I'm Jason, and I think you're my mother." Tears began to fall from Jennifer's face. She brought her hands to her mouth, trying to control her emotion. "My baby, you've grown. You've gotten so big. I came to find you. I needed to meet you." Jennifer looked at Robert again. How did you know?" "It was fate," he said. "I found him passed out on the highway. I saved him without knowing who he was. And then I discovered everything." You disappeared. I looked for you. I looked so hard. They ran me out of town. They accused me of theft. When I came back to look for you, you were already gone." Jennifer moved closer to him. She raised her hand and touched Robert's face, as if she needed to confirm he was real. "All these years, I thought I'd never see you again." "Me too." Jason watched everything, tears streaming down his face. It was a scene he had never imagined living, seeing his biological parents reuniting after so long. Jennifer finally looked at Jason again and opened her arms. He didn't hesitate. He ran and threw himself into the embrace of the mother he had never known. The two cried, holding on to each other, as 20 years of separation dissolved in that moment. Richard watched from a distance, his own tears falling. He realized he had taken this from them. He had stolen years of togetherness, of love, of family. After long minutes, Jennifer pulled away a little from Jason and looked at him carefully. "You're so handsome, so perfect. I was so afraid of finding you and you not wanting to know me." "Not want to?" She laughed through her tears. "Not a single day went by that I didn't think of you, that I didn't wonder if you were okay, if you were happy. I am happy, or I was, until I found out my life was a lie." Jennifer looked at Richard with anger. You promised you would take good care of him." "And I did," said Richard, his voice firm despite the emotion. "I gave him everything: education, comfort, love. He is my son too." "But you hid the truth from him." "I did, and it was wrong. I know that now." Jennifer shook her head. She looked at Robert again. "Why didn't you come back? Even after everything, why didn't you try to find me?" "I did try, but you had disappeared. No one knew where you had gone, and I was destroyed. I lived on the streets for years. I still do." "On the streets?" Jennifer seemed shocked. "You're living on the streets?" "I am. For a long time." She looked at the clean clothes he was wearing. "These clothes—" "I bought them for him today," said Richard. "I thought he should look presentable to see you." Jennifer closed her eyes for a moment, trying to process everything. When she opened them, there was a new determination there. "You're all staying here, all three of you. We have a lot to talk about." She took everyone to a private room at the back of the bed and breakfast. She prepared coffee and sat down with them. "I want to hear everything, from the beginning. What happened after you left, Robert?" And he told. He told about the threats, about how he was run out of town, about how he tried to come back several times but was always stopped, about how he ended up on the streets losing everything, about the years of suffering, of loneliness. Jennifer told her part, how she discovered the pregnancy after he disappeared, how Richard offered money for the baby, how she had no choice because she had no one. "I tried to find you until the last moment," she said, "but no one knew where you were. And when I gave Jason away, I felt like I had given away my soul with him." "Why did you take the money?" "Because I thought he would have a better life that way, a life I couldn't give him. But I never forgot. I never stopped loving my son." Jason listened to everything, emotions passing over his face, anger, sadness, understanding. "And you?" He turned to Richard. "Why did you do it? Why did you separate them?" Richard sighed deeply. "Because my wife couldn't have children, and she wanted so badly to be a mother. When I saw the opportunity, I took it. I thought I was doing a good thing. Giving a family to you, giving a child to her. But you destroyed a family that already existed. I didn't know about Robert. Jennifer never said who the father was." "Because I was ashamed," said Jennifer, "ashamed of loving an employee, of getting pregnant without being married. It was all a secret." "And even if I had known," Richard continued, "I don't know if it would have changed anything. I wanted that baby. I was blinded by my wife's desire." Jason stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the sea. "You all made mistakes, each in your own way, but I paid the price. I grew up not knowing where I came from, not knowing why I sometimes felt so empty." "I'm sorry, son," said Jennifer. "If I could go back—" "But you can't, no one can." Jason turned to them. "But we can move forward, together." "What do you mean?" asked Richard. "I mean, I'm going to get to know both of you. You, Mother, because I need to know who you are, and you, Robert, because I think you are my real father." But he looked at Richard. "You are also my father. You're the one who raised me. That doesn't change." Richard felt an enormous relief. He was afraid of losing his son completely. "Thank you, Jason. You don't know how much this means. But I want the truth from now on, no more secrets, no more lies." Everyone agreed. They spent the rest of the afternoon talking. Jennifer showed photos of when Jason was a baby, photos she had kept before giving him away. Robert told stories of when he dated Jennifer, making everyone laugh. When night fell, Jennifer insisted they stay. She prepared rooms for each of them. Jason went to sleep early, emotionally exhausted. Richard retired as well, leaving Jennifer and Robert alone. They sat on the bed and breakfast porch, looking at the sea under the moonlight. 20 years, said Jennifer. "It seems like a whole lifetime." "It is a whole lifetime, and we wasted it. We didn't waste it, we survived. Each in our own way. But we could have survived together." Jennifer looked at him. "Do you still love me after everything?" Robert thought for a moment. "I never stopped. Even when I tried to forget, you were always here." He touched his chest. "And now, seeing you again, it's as if the years never passed." "For me, too. But we've changed, Robert. We're not those young, passionate kids anymore. I know, but maybe we can be other things. Older, wiser, and still in love." Jennifer smiled. "Are you asking me for a second chance?" "I am. If you'll give it to me." She held his hand. "Let's take it slow. We need to get to know each other again. And there's Jason. He needs stability now." "I agree. We'll go at his pace." "But I want you to know," said Jennifer, "that I never loved anyone the way I loved you. I tried to move on, but my heart always belonged to you. And mine to you." They stood there, hand in hand, listening to the sound of the waves. Two loves reunited after decades of separation. They didn't know what the future would bring, but for the first time in a long time, there was hope. In the days that followed, they established a routine. Richard needed to return to work, but he promised to come every weekend. Jason decided to stay a few days with Jennifer, getting to know her better. Robert, for his part, had a difficult decision to make. Jennifer offered for him to stay at the bed and breakfast, working there. But he knew he needed to sort out his life first. He couldn't just abandon the life he had on the streets. "I need to go back," he said to Jennifer one morning. "I have friends there, Mrs. Dorothy, who helped me when I needed it most. I can't just disappear." "Then bring her here and anyone else who wants to come too." "Really?" "Really, I have the space, and I always need help at the bed and breakfast. If they want to work, they'll have a place here." Robert went back to the city. He found Mrs. Dorothy under the overpass. "So, how was the reunion?" It was more than I could have imagined, and I have a proposal for you." He told her about Jennifer's offer. Mrs. Dorothy was silent for a moment. "Are you offering me a new life?" "I am. What do you think?" "I think it's a blessing, and I accept." They gathered their belongings, which were few, and returned to Santa Monica. They also brought Jimmy, who was trying to recover from drugs, and Mark, the former laborer. Jennifer welcomed them with open arms. She gave them all rooms and work at the bed and breakfast. For the first time in years, those people had a home. Jason spent his days getting to know his mother. He learned her habits, her stories, her dreams, and he discovered he had a lot of her in him. One afternoon, Jennifer took him for a walk on the beach. "There's something I need to tell you," she said. "What?" "When I gave you to Richard, I made a request. I asked that when you turned 15, he would tell you the truth. I left a letter for you. A letter, but I never received anything. Because he didn't keep his promise. He kept the letter, hid it from you." "Where is it?" "I don't know, but you have a right to it. It's yours." Jason became thoughtful. "I'm going to confront him about this." The following weekend, when Richard arrived, Jason confronted him. "Where's the letter my mother left for me?" Richard paled. "How do you know about that?" "She told me." "Where is it?" Richard sighed and took out his wallet. From inside, he took out a folded piece of paper, yellowed with time. "I kept it with me always. I'd read it sometimes. It was as if it was for me, too." Jason took the letter carefully. He opened it and began to read. The tears weren't long in coming. "My son, if you are reading this, you are already 15. You are almost a man. I want you to know that loving you was the easiest thing I have ever done, and giving you up was the hardest. I don't regret giving you life, but I regret not being able to raise you. The man who will be your father promised to give you everything you need. I hope he keeps his word. I hope you are happy. But I also hope that one day you will look for me, that you will want to know where you came from, and when that day comes, I will be waiting with open arms, because you will always be my son. No matter who raises you, who loves you, you came from me, and a part of me will always be with you. I love you today, I will love you always. Your mother, Jennifer." Jason folded the letter carefully and put it away. "Why did you hide this from me?" "Because I was afraid," Richard admitted. "Afraid that you would go after her and never come back. I would have come back, because you are my father too. But you didn't trust me. It was selfish, pure selfishness, and I regret it every day." Jason looked at the man who raised him. He saw the wrinkles around his eyes, the graying hair, the posture stooped under the weight of guilt. "I forgive you, Dad, but you need to make peace with all of this, with what you did to my mother, to Robert. Not for me. For yourself." Richard nodded, tears falling. "I'll try." That night, Richard asked to speak with Jennifer and Robert alone. The three of them sat on the same porch where Jennifer and Robert had reunited. "I want to apologize," said Richard. "Truly, for what I did to the two of you." "You've already apologized," said Jennifer. "No. I said the words, but I didn't mean them. Now I want to apologize from the heart. I destroyed your lives. Because of my selfishness, you lost 20 years together. You lost seeing your son grow up." "And what do you want us to do with that?" asked Robert. "I want you to forgive me." not to ease my conscience, but so you can move forward without this burden." Jennifer and Robert looked at each other. They had every right to hold a grudge, but they also knew that hatred would only hurt themselves. "I forgive you," said Jennifer, "not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace." "I forgive you too," said Robert, "but on one condition." "What is it?" "That you accept that Jason has two fathers, that you don't try to push me away from him." Richard extended his hand. "I accept, and I promise to help you with whatever you need." "Robert, you need new documents, you need to get your situation sorted out, I'll help with that. And Jennifer, if you need anything for the bed and breakfast, you can count on me." "We don't want your money," said Jennifer. "It's not charity. It's making amends, and it's the least I can do." Robert shook Richard's hand. They weren't friends. Perhaps they never would be, but they could coexist for Jason's sake. The weeks passed. Robert started working at the bed and breakfast, tending to the gardens. He went back to doing what he loved. His hands, once rough from living on the streets, were back working with the soil, with the plants. Mrs. Dorothy became the cook. Jimmy worked in maintenance and had been clean for 2 months. Mark handled the front desk. The bed and breakfast prospered with this makeshift family. Jason divided his time between Santa Monica and the town where Richard lived. He was doing well in school and planned to study business administration to help Jennifer with the bed and breakfast. One night, Jennifer and Robert were again on the porch. It had become their routine to sit there after everyone had gone to sleep. "I'm happy," said Jennifer. "After all this time, I'm finally happy." "Me too. But I'm scared." "Of what?" "That I'll wake up and find out it's all a dream, that you're not here, that Jason's not here." Robert held her hand. "It's not a dream, it's real, and we're going to make it work." "Do you still love me?" More than 20 years ago. Jennifer moved closer and kissed Robert. It was a gentle kiss, full of history, of pain overcome, of a love that had withstood time. When they parted, they had tears in their eyes. "Let's start over," she said. "The right way this time. Let's." Months later, they threw a party at the bed and breakfast. They gathered everyone who was part of their story. Mrs. Dorothy, Mr. George, who had retired and visited them often, Lucy the nurse, Mrs. Catherine. Jason gave a speech. "I want to thank everyone who is here. Each one of you is part of my story, a complicated, painful story, but one that ended well. I have 2 fathers, one who gave me life and fought to come back to me, another who raised me and gave me everything I needed, and I have a mother who never forgot me, who kept her love for me in her heart all these years. I'm lucky, because in the end, I discovered that family isn't just about blood. It's about love. It's about being present. And all of you are present in my life." Everyone applauded, many with tears in their eyes. Richard approached Robert. "Thank you," he said, "for not hating me, for letting me continue to be Jason's father. You will always be his father. That was never in question. But now you are too, and that's good. He needs both of us." "I agree." The 2 men hugged. It wasn't friendship, but it was respect. It was acceptance. Life went on. Robert and Jennifer got married in a simple ceremony on the beach. Jason was the best man. Richard was there, happy for them. The bed and breakfast grew. They needed to hire more people. Mrs. Dorothy became the kitchen manager. Jimmy had been clean for a year and was studying to go back to his old profession. Mark had become Jennifer's right-hand man. Richard helped Robert recover his documents. He got a new ID, got his situation straightened out. Robert was no longer an invisible man. He was a citizen, with rights, with a name, and most importantly, he was a father, a husband, a man who had come back from the brink. One afternoon, Jason was helping Robert in the garden. "Can I ask you a question?" the young man said. "Of course." "How did you do it? Live on the street all those years and not lose hope?" Robert stopped digging and looked at his son. "Who said I didn't lose it? I lost it many times. There were days I wanted to give up on everything, but there was always something that made me keep going. Sometimes it was Mrs. Dorothy with a kind word. Sometimes it was seeing the sun rise and knowing it was a new day, and there were the dreams too. Dreams? I dreamed about your mother. Every night. It was as if a part of me knew that one day I would find her again. And now that you have. Now I know every day of suffering was worth it, because it brought me here. To you. To her. To this life we've built. Jason hugged Robert. I love you, Dad. It was the first time he had called him that. Robert felt his heart tighten with emotion. I love you too, son. That night on the porch, Jennifer asked about his day. Jason called you Dad today, Robert said. And how did that make you feel? Complete. For the first time in 20 years, I felt complete. Jennifer rested her head on his shoulder. We made it, didn't we? Despite everything, we made it. We did, and we'll keep on making it. They looked out at the sea, listening to the waves. Two people that fate had separated and brought back together. Two people who had lost everything and rebuilt from scratch. Two people who proved that true love withstands time, distance, and pain. And there, in that moment, under the stars, feeling the sea breeze, they knew they were finally home. Not just in a physical place, but home in each other's arms. The following years brought more joys. Jason graduated with a business degree and took over part of the management of the bed and breakfast. Jennifer and Robert became grandparents when Jason got married and had a son. They named the boy John, in honor of Robert's grandfather who had passed away long ago. Richard was also present. He had retired and spent seasons at the bed and breakfast, helping where he could. He developed a relationship of respect with Robert. They weren't close friends, but they respected each other and managed to get along well for the sake of Jason and the family. Mrs. Dorothy passed away at 78 in her sleep. Her wake was held at the bed and breakfast, surrounded by everyone she loved. She left a letter for Robert. My dear Robert, if you are reading this, I have already passed on, but don't be sad. I lived longer than I expected, and I lived well, thanks to you. When we met under the overpass, I was lost, without hope, and you, even though you were younger, taught me not to give up. Thank you for bringing me here, for giving me a family again, for showing me that it's never too late to start over. Take care of Jennifer, take care of Jason, take care of yourself. And always remember, you are not defined by the worst moments of your life. You are defined by how you get back up after them. With love, Mrs. Dorothy. Robert cried as he read it. He kept the letter with the ones Jennifer had written 20 years earlier. They were his memories, his history. The bed and breakfast continued to grow. It became a landmark in the area. People came not only for the beauty of the place, but for the energy you felt there. An energy of love, of new beginnings, of hope. Robert never forgot where he came from. Every month he set aside a portion of the bed and breakfast's profits and distributed it among the homeless people in the area. It wasn't charity. It was recognition. He knew he could still be there if fate hadn't put Jason in his path. On a Sunday afternoon, the whole family was together. Jason with his wife and son, Richard, now 80 years old but still sharp, Jennifer and Robert, with white hair but bright eyes, Jimmy, who had become a teacher and helped homeless youth, Mark, who had found a partner and was happy. Let's take a picture, said Jason, to remember this moment. They all gathered together. The picture turned out beautiful. Family. Not necessarily by blood, but by heart. At night, when everyone had left, Jennifer and Robert were, as always, on the porch. Tired? She asked. A little, but it's a good kind of tired. Look how far we've come, from where we started to here. Every second, every tear, every pain was worth it. Because in the end we found each other again. And I will never lose you again. Jennifer smiled and kissed Robert. Nor I, you. They stayed there, holding hands, looking at the stars. Two survivors. Two winners. Two lovers that time couldn't separate. And in that comfortable silence, they knew they had everything they needed. They had each other. They had their son. They had the family they had built. They had a life worth living. Their story was one of pain, but it was also one of overcoming, of love that endures, of family that rebuilds itself, of hope that never completely dies, and it proved that it's never too late to start over, that it's never too late to find happiness, that true love can wait for decades and still be there, as strong as it ever was. Robert looked at Jennifer. She was older, with wrinkles around her eyes, white hair, but to him, she was the same 20-year-old girl he had fallen in love with in the garden of the house on Magnolia Drive. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "About how lucky I am. I lost everything. I lived on the streets. I suffered in ways no one should suffer. But in the end, I got everything back. And more. You deserved it, Robert. After all you went through, you deserved this happiness. We deserved it. All of us." And it was true. Every person in that improvised family had suffered in their own way. They had lost, they had fallen, but they had all gotten back up, they had all fought, and they had all won. Life hadn't been easy for any of them, but it had been worth it. Every scar, every tear, every difficult night had been worth it. Because in the end, what matters isn't how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up. It's how many times you choose to keep going. It's how many times you choose love in spite of the pain. And they had chosen, all of them. They had chosen to get back up. They had chosen to keep going. They had chosen love. And now they were reaping the rewards of those choices. They were reaping peace, joy, wholeness. Robert squeezed Jennifer's hand. "I love you. I love you too. I always have. I always will." And there, on that porch, under the stars, with the sound of the sea in the background, two hearts that had been separated by life finally beat in sync, together, complete, at peace. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this story. Did it move you? Did it move? Do you believe Robert and Jennifer deserved this ending? Leave your opinion in the comments with sincere words. And if you know someone who needs to hear a story of hope like this, share it with them. Thank you so much for being here with us. Don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other moving stories like this one.